It's a Teen Talks Kitten podcast where I embarrass myself. Hello, and welcome to episode number 117 of the Teen Talks Kitten podcast. My name is Van Gogh, and I hope you guys are all doing very well. Of course, before we start, make sure you follow, share, and like the Teen Talks Gang podcast with all your friends. I had a lot of views or plays or whatever last week, and I'm very happy to see that, obviously. So thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the people who seem to be interested in my podcast recently. I don't know, it's like a really big wave, like the biggest wave I've ever had of like a really good amount of plays every day for a week, which was really nice to see. So thank you so much for all the support. I hope you guys are all doing very well. Honestly, I have never had such a terribly busy week in my life before. I just feel like everything is just running, and I just have so many homework assignments to do, and I've had all these extracurricular activities to do as well. So yeah, I mean, it's been so busy, but of course, never too busy so that I can't record my podcast. I do love recording my podcast because it's such a stress reliever. I just love to talk for like 50 minutes and rant and stuff, and it takes all the stress away. But yeah, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm so done. But yeah, I'm like done. But of course, figure skating is not done, and so I don't know. Let's head over to our program of the week, though. Let's see what's going on with our program of the week. This is a really nice program, in my opinion. Program of the week. Alrighty, my friends. Our program of this week, I feel like this is a program that proves to you that jumps aren't everything in figure skating. This program, I feel like, is so elegant and fun and jazzy at the same time. It's from a great skater from the 90s, Chen Lu of China, and her 1997 World Short Program to Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. Very famous, kind of jazzy piece, obviously. Not a classical piece, but very fun, snazzy, jazzy kind of piece. Um, Take Five by Dave Brubeck. This program, I feel like, is one of those choreographic masterpieces by Sandra Bezic, combining with a very nice skater in Chen Lu. Chen Lu starts this program with a very fun opening sequence where she's kind of standing still, puts her left knee in front of her right knee in front of her left knee, or she stands still, if that makes sense, but then she kind of rocks back and forth, and she's kind of doing that. She turns to her left, does that the same thing that way, and then she does it in all four directions, and she's kind of immediately creating a very much show person kind of style, show person vibe. Look at me, look at how fun and jazzy and almost mischievous I feel like in this program. I really do like that opening sequence. I love how she just picks up so much speed. She just stands still, and then she picks up so much incredible speed throughout the opening sequence, between that opening sequence and her first triple left attempt, which does get singled, but it's fine. I do love the line going into her left. It's a beautiful line that she creates. Very beautiful, roaring down the rink as well, kind of going back and forth in her steps, walking, kind of running almost into the triple toe, double toe combination is very nice. Her spins of this program are very simple, but they're in very nicely held positions. Doesn't look like she's struggling to do them. They go with the music, and again, she's playing a character with these spins. They very much go on the beat of the music, in my opinion. They very much go with the feel of the music. It isn't overly wild and loud. They are soft spins, kind of, again, jazzy spins. She goes into a beautiful single axle as well. Wanted a double, but it's fine. It's single axle. Bit of a choreo sequence moment in this program as well. Big back spiral into a big front spiral kind of vibe. And then she goes into a last spin, Y spin, and she kind of ends off her program with a little step sequency action kind of vibe. But I don't know. This program, again, the jump's not there, but that's okay. But this program is all about performing to an audience, performing to yourself, and playing a really fun character. There's no lyrics to these music, right? But in a sense, Chen Li never needed the lyrics to carry her forward. She just needed herself and her acting ability and her character and the choreography of Sandra Bezic to portray this very fun character. It's jazzy, it's mischievous, it's I don't know, roaring 20s in Harlem and you're walking down the street, or maybe you're in New Orleans and you're walking down the street and hearing this, and you're in a movie sequence. And I just feel like Chen Li makes everyone feel special when she skates, in the sense that you're skating alongside her. I don't know. I always really enjoyed Chen Li's programs watching back. Obviously, I wasn't alive when she was skating, but watching back and on the old videos and everything. And so this program, Chen Li's program at the 1997 World Tour program to Take Five by Dave Brubeck, is one that I think is worth watching for sure. So go ahead, check it out. Her program is so amazing. And let's head over to our main episode. That was your program of the week. Okay, everybody. So our episode this week is a bit of an interesting episode because, again, the season is over, Olympics over, Worlds are over. I'm glad that it's over. Honestly, I'm so tired from figure skating. I mean, I love figure skating, obviously, but I'm tired of watching competitions sometimes, honestly. And so recently I've been watching a lot of old competitions, 90s Worlds, 2000s, early 2000s, watching some of the programs from there because I don't know. It's nice to go back, I guess, to simpler times without social media, without a lot of the internet happening, stuff like that. But anyway, the season is over. I can post whatever I want now. And so, something that has been very, very big in the figure skating community recently is these new proposals, ideas, thoughts. A lot of them, seem to be rumors. Some of them seem to be more confirmed by evidence, but they are these thoughts, rumors, ideas, whatever, that are coming from the ISU, the International Skating Union, that controls all of figure skating, that they have created like potential new rules for figure skating, potential new structures to how the season works, potential changes for how skaters do their programs, music changes, things like that, that are very, very important because some of these changes, might change the sport as we know it. And so, as the season is over, they really do like to make these changes after every Olympic quad. If you remember back in the 2021-2022 season where we had the 2022 Olympics, after those Worlds that season, then they introduced the age change requirements, so that you had to be 17 to be a senior, and there was like a whole grandfathering system that I don't have time to explain. And then they changed the axle sequence scoring, and so suddenly you could do a triple toe double axle, and it's worth the same as a double axle. Wait, triple toe double axle is worth the same as a double axle triple toe. Back in 2018, after those worlds, they changed the number of jumps in a program for the men from 8 to the 7 now for both the men and women as we know it currently. And so they like to make these big changes and decisions in the sport after every Olympic quad. The +3 to +5 system after the 2018 Olympics is another good example of that in the GOE system. But yeah, big changes and decisions happen after every Olympic quad. And this quad really does not seem to be an exception. They really do seem to be trying to change the sport even further. Um, and the goal of the ISU is, to make figure skating a successful sport, of course, and they seek to make the sport better for everyone involved, right? And I mean the judges, I mean the skaters, I mean the audience, I mean the viewers at home. Everyone wants to have a better sport, right? But this common critique against the ISU that has led to the whole ISU needs reform movement, there's a common critique of them that we hear from them, but they don't really hear from us, or they don't really want to hear from us, that they don't really listen to skaters and coaches themselves. That, even if there has been complaints by skaters, complaints by coaches saying that these reforms are not really ideal for the sport, these reforms are not really what people want from the sport, they are still kind of just doing what they want. And there has been kind of changes to try to help accommodate this. For example, they have a new system, kind of like the athletes. I believe it's called the athletes committee or athlete representative council or something. But basically, there's a few skaters who have been kind of elected by other skaters as representatives to ISU. Evan Bates is a great example. Evan Bates is the ice dance representative. I don't remember who the men's representative is, but I believe Adam Hagara is going for the position right now. But anyway, there has been kind of small changes where, I guess athletes themselves have a little bit more of a voice, but of course it's one against so many, ISU officials and things. And so this summer, I believe in June, yeah, in June, the ISU, they're going to be meeting again to discuss even more changes. I remember in 2022, they met in Bangkok. Where are they meeting this year? It's some crazy place. It's gonna be in Tenerife. Oh, that's kind of fun. Tenerife in Spain. But they will be meeting in Tenerife, which I'm sure does not have a big ice skating or figure skating culture at all, but oh well. But they're gonna be discussing to make even more changes. Some of these have been officially confirmed as things that they are going to discuss, vote on, etc. Some of these might just be rumors I have heard. Of course, we live in a day and age of social media, a day and age of like nothingness, not nothingness, but a day and age of really like yeah, and you can't trust everything you hear, of course. And so some of these have again come from the ISU, some of these have been confirmed by some skaters who have talked about them. Some of these might have just been rumors from social media that I saw, and maybe they're believable, maybe not. So take most things, not most things, I'll confirm what I can confirm, but if not, take it with a grain of salt. So I've kind of found a few posts, few articles about the changes. The first comes from Anything Goes, Anything GOES. This article was written by Anna Kellar. It's called Athletes and Coaches Want a Say on Big Changes from ISU on April 11th of 2026 this year. And so I found a couple of these articles from a couple different authors and sources, and I just want to give like brief summaries and my personal thoughts. So, Keller's article, Athletes and Coaches Want a Big Changes from ISU, kind of discusses some of the main changes, right, that might be happening. And so let's see here. So they are kind of changing, and I'll skip over kind of the boring parts. They are changing how the ISU is constructed in a sense, structure the different, things, and I don't know, different little committees, different groups in the ISU, I don't really want to talk about that. It's not super duper. I mean, it's important for figure skating in a sense, but I feel like it's not super important for the sport itself. Alrighty. Major changes. Okay. So Kellar writes the major changes for singles and pairs for the 2026 season were decided by the 2024 ISU Congress, but implementation was postponed until after the Olympic season. Let's hear it. For singles, removing one jump from the free skate. Let's see, people. Removing one jump from the free skate. So currently, of course, we have 7 jumps in the free skate for the men and for the women. Both of them have one jump in the 7 jumps in the free skate. Removing one jump in the free skate, so they would have 6 jumps in the free skate, and it would be like 3 on either half of the program. I don't know. I mean, I've thought about this one a lot. I've heard this one. This is has been one of the main ones that has been heavily debated about. I see the argument why you would want 6 jumps in the free skate. 6 is an even number. It removes an extra jump. It removes potential for mistakes, maybe, things like that. I almost like 7 jumps in the free skate. I guess I am biased because I am someone who not grew up in figure skating, but someone who started watching figure skating when it was the 7 jump era. I didn't really start watching figure skating when it was the 8 jump era and men's, where men were performing 8 jumps in the free skate. But I started watching when it was the 7 jumps in the free skate for men and women. I have to say, I don't like the idea of having just 6 jumps in the free skate. I think 7 is a good amount. I don't know. I think 7 is a good amount because you have to show variety. There's 6 different jumps, right? Toe loop, salchow, loop, flip, lutz, axle. And so I do feel like with 7 jumping passes, you're forced to show more variety. You're forced to show more different combinations you can do. You're forced to show, I don't know, different types of composition. And I feel like 3 jumps in 3 jumps in each half of the program is like I like how it's balanced, but at the same time, I feel like 7 jumps has always been part of the challenge. Not always, but I like the challenge of 7 jumps. 4 of your jumps may be worth more, but they are in the first half of the program. 3 of your jumps are in the second half of the program, maybe worth less, but they get the 10% bonus. And I feel like 7 jumps really is a challenge, but when a skater lands 7 jumps successfully, I truly do feel like that is kind of a moment. And so I don't know about doing that. I don't know about doing just 6 jumps. I don't like the idea currently. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see, right? But honestly, I feel like 7 jumps is a good balance. Okay, that was change number 1 for singles. Another change is replacing one leveled spin with a choreographic spin. So, currently we have 3 spins in each of the programs. I don't know if this would be for the short or the free or both, maybe. I'm assuming both. Both the short program and the free skate have 3 spins, right? You need a camel, lay back, sit, or you need a combination. If one of them has to be flying, blah, 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 blah. Lots of complications. I don't know. One of those spins being replaced with a choreographic spin. Honestly, I like that. I like that because I do feel like spins are this tend to be the same between the short program and the free skate. Short program skaters and free programs, they tend to have the same spins. And so maybe if one of the spins in either program was a choreographic spin, because it would maybe have to go along with the different music for each program would be intriguing. I don't know if that would be the right word. Intriguing. I don't know. I like the idea, honestly. Choreographic spin. I guess it's kind of like a choreographic sequence, right? Which is exclusive to the free skate for men and women. I do like the idea of a choreographic spin, I feel like, because I do feel like that could add a little choreographic something to a program. And maybe it would still be worth around the same as a regular level spin kind of thing. It would depend. I feel like it would depend for me personally about how much the choreographic spin is worth and how they would exactly do the Jiui on that. Because I feel like choreographic sequences, the Jiui tends to be a little like willy nilly and a little like, All right. For pairs at both the junior and the senior level, the choreographic sequence in the free skate has been removed. One leveled lift is eliminated in place of a choreographic lift, and the pair spin is replaced by a choreographic spin. 3 different changes. The choreo sequence in the free skate has been removed. I don't know about that. I like the choreo sequence in a Paris free skate because it's often the most unique part of a Paris free skate, I feel like, is the choreographic sequence for them. One leveled spin is eliminated in place of a choreographic lift, or one leveled lift, sorry. I like that. I feel like I do like that. I don't know. I don't watch pairs enough. And then in the pair spin, I don't like that. The pair spin is replaced by a choreographic spin, but there's only one spin in the whole. I believe my issue here is that there's only one spin in the whole pairs free skate anyway. If they were to add a choreographic spin, I wouldn't like that. But if they were just to replace a pair spin, when a pair spin is a quite difficult element that I feel like can be a big moment of a pairs program, I don't like that in my opinion. But then again, I don't watch pairs a lot. All right, for ice dance, the ISU technical committee noted that they are responding to feedback from coaches and athletes who have asked for to have a pattern dance element back in the rhythm dance for seniors, and specifically have asked for a year with the waltz. The pattern dance also potentially allows for more apples to apples comparison of teams and increases the difference between two programs. I do like that. I do remember I remember compulsory dances. I don't remember. I wasn't really watching skating in like 2010. But if you remember, I remember a few weeks ago I talked about the compulsory dance in ice dance. And in 2010, for example, at the Olympics, it was like a Spanish flamenco kind of thing where every team had to perform a Spanish flamenco with the same steps, with the same movement across the ice. They had to perform that pattern twice, and a lot of them did really well on it. And I do feel like when every team is performing the same exact steps, you can see differences, and you can really see where one team might do better than another team, where one team might need to improve. You can also see differences in like emotional expression and choreography and really the basic skating skills, which I do feel like is a good thing to have. An argument against this, though, I do see how it could get really, really repetitive seeing every single team doing the same pattern over and over again. But if it was just an element where it's just one element that teams are doing the exact same, I think that's a good idea. I really do think that's a good idea. Because ice dance, I feel like in the rhythm dance, genuinely, like, I feel like the rhythm dance has become too much like the free dance, where it's still controlled. The rhythm dance is still controlled in terms of like the music people can use and the elements or whatever. And I will never completely understand ice dance, honestly. But if you had an element that showed me as a viewer where one team was a little bit better than another, I truly do think that would be a great idea for ice dance. All right, so let's see. That was some of the specific changes for that. If you scroll down a little bit on Anna Kellar's article, she talks about how one of the goals is to, excuse me, oh my gosh, one of the goals of the ISU, or one of the rumors maybe, is to make free skates and free dances actually go from 4 minutes to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And to me, this is a no, 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 no. This is a no. This is such a no to me. Don't remove time from programs. I think this is like, why would you do that? The goal that Anna Keller writes, the goal, as explained by members of the ICANN Technical Committee, is to reduce the length of competitions, thereby making skating more marketable to broadcasters and audiences. I don't know about that. If you remove 30 seconds, I remember seeing someone doing the calculations for this. If you remove 30 seconds from each program, and there is 20 ISINs teams, you're only taking away, what would that be? I'm actually stupid. What would that be? If you okay, if there's 30 and then times 10, right? Wait, you would only remove 10 minutes from the I feel like that's not worth it. You would only remove 10 minutes overall from the actual skating broadcast. If you were doing it with 24 skaters for the men and the women's, you would only remove 12 minutes. That does not make sense, right? I'm not stupid, right? Is that how math works? I don't know. But if you remove time from programs, I feel like you can't do like if you remove time from programs and you have to squeeze in, you know, the 7 jumps or the 6 jumps or whatever into those 3 minutes and 3 seconds, and you still have to do this step sequence and the choreo sequence and the spins. I don't think that's enough time, in my opinion. And then you want to have interesting parts of the program. I think it would make skating less marketable because the programs would be less epic. Programs would be less emotional if you're taking away time for people to do interesting things choreographically and interesting things emotionally. I feel like it would take away marketability. To broadcasters, maybe because, broadcasters want to make the most bang with their time, right? The bang for their buck, the bang for their time. And they want to have things that people will watch time and time again. And, maybe they think like, oh, something's shorter, people are more likely to watch it. But if you're a hardcore figure skating fan like I am, I would really hate a program to be removed by 30 seconds, right? Like, imagine a famous program like Tessa Virtue, Scott Moyer, their Moulin Rouge free dance. Imagine that going down to 3 minutes and 3 seconds. And 30 seconds of that choreography, of that emotional buildup had to be removed. Like maybe the opening choreography would have to be cut entirely, right? Because it takes too much time. You can't fit that in. I would hate that. I genuinely would not like that because it's part of the challenge to fill up 4 minutes with something very powerful and expressional. Wait, expressive. Oh my god, expressive, right? What else? I would really hate that, honestly. I genuinely would really hate that. Um, what else is a good example? Imagine if you had to remove Mao Asada's 2014 Olympic free skate by 30 seconds. Like maybe you had to cut out some of those moments again. Like that would be crazy. Yeah. So yeah, Anna Keller writes about some of the interviews she's done with Kirill Marsak from Ukraine, who does not really like it. Stefan Lambiel as well doesn't like, again, like about the choreography. Um, yeah, and I feel like it also, again, makes it too similar to the short program. The short program is, 2 minutes, 40 seconds, and if free skates move down to 3:30, that's not a big difference. And I feel like as big of a difference as, 2:40 and 4 minutes. I don't see it. I really don't see it. Scott Moyer has an interview as well. I think 4 minutes makes it much more of a sport. 3:30 is what we're doing in junior. La la la, sophisticated. Yeah, exactly. Like the story, right? Anyway, this article is super interesting. Okay. All right. All right. Another change that another change that they are discussing in the ISU that Anna Keller writes, one proposed change may already have been rolled back. So it might have already been like, no. The proposal from the ISU Council to require to skaters to create and perform 2 free programs per season in addition to their short program. Opposition to that ideal centered around concern that quality would decrease and that increased expense for choreography, costumes, and music rights and editing would place would place an unfair burden on the skater. Yeah, I see that. That's a bad idea too. If you imagine every skater having to do free skates per season, and you would have 3 programs overall to perform. Some skaters already, switch out their program in the middle of the season, but I feel like in general they usually go back to an old program or they'll maybe create a new program. But I do feel like that is kind of a rare thing, right? I don't really like that idea either because if you think about it, yeah, that makes sense what Anna Keller writes here because that's more money to spend and figures seem expensive. And imagine having to spend another, 10K on a new program, new choreography from a professional choreographer, a new costume. Music rights are already a big issue in figure skating. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. Okay, but those are the ideas that Anna Keller writes about in this article again from Anything GOEs. Athletes and coaches want a say on big changes from the ISU. So again, kind of a run through removing a jump from the free skate. I don't like it. Um, Adding a choreographic spin. I do like it. I do see that happening maybe. For the pairs, what was it? For the pairs, removing the choreo sequence, no. Doing a choreographic lift, yeah, sure. Choreographic spin into a pair spin, no. Ice dance, bringing back the pattern dance, yeah, I like that. Cutting down the program from 4 minutes to 3:30, yeah, no. And then what was the other changes? 2 free programs is a huge no to me. I feel like that's such an 2 free programs at 3:30 would be crazy. That's not it. I feel like that is not it. That's expensive and these new rules would, yeah, no. All right, so those are some of the changes that Anna Keller discusses in her article. This article from Philip Hersh of Globetrotting has somewhat similar things, some similar thingamajiggies. This is from January 17th of 2026. Um, let's see here. Some of these are the same as what Anna Keller discusses. Kind of discussing, let's see, discussing, let's see. Oh my god, I should have like highlighted it or like quoted these or something. I have no idea. All right, here's some of the weird things that he's saying here. That what's his name? Philip Hersh has kind of discussed. Okay, let's see. According to sources, so no idea where these sources come from, but jumps that end in a fall will only receive 20% of their base value. Oh, that's crazy. Jumps that end in a fall will only receive 20% of their base value. So if you're doing what would be a good example of this? Oh my gosh, if you're doing a double axel and it's worth how much is a double axle worth? Oh my god, I'm like crazy. 3.30, right? And you only get 20% of the base value if you fall on a double axle. That means you only get 0.66 points. That's crazy. because that would not be good for the sport. Because if you are limiting what base value jumps have if they end in a fall from 50% to 20%, that would mean what? That would mean people would be discouraged from doing difficult jumps. People would be discouraged from doing jumps that have more base value. That would kind of make the sport go backwards, right? Because you wouldn't want to do hard jumps because you would be afraid to fall on them and only get 20% instead of 50% of it. Or if you land it successfully, of course, more. Yeah, Philip Hersh even writes the change will likely discourage skaters from trying the most difficult jumps, quads, and triple axels. Yeah, because if a triple axel is worth 8 points, right? And women are, attempting the triple axel, but they fall on it, they're only getting 1.60 points, and that is crazy. That's less points than if they did a double axel. That's crazy. That's half as less points. Like, that's half the amount of points, and that would be absolutely crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. Yeah, I really don't like that. If we discourage that, so you would want people to do jumps that they don't fall on, and if a skater just had a nightmare skate and they fell on a lot of the jumping passes, their score would tank so bad no matter how good they did in the short program. That would not be good. That would not be good for the sport. No. All right, next point. To speed up competitions, the 6-minute warm up before each group of skaters will take place off camera. Whether that means on ice or off ice is unclear. Interesting. The 6-minute warm up before each group of skaters will take place off camera. Whether that means on ice or off ice. Well, they want it on ice. Why wouldn't you want to warm up on the actual ice? I don't understand. Why would you want that? I guess to speed up competitions. Wait, how would that work though? Because they have to use the same ice. How would that even work? It would take place off camera. The time saved would allow the ISU to increase the number of qualifiers for the Grand Prix final from 6 to 8 per discipline and require a broadcast window of just 1 hour, 37 minutes. No, 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 no. I don't like that. Only, okay, more skaters in the Grand Prix final. I see that maybe. No, maybe I don't because I do like how the Grand Prix final is very exclusive. You have to be the top 6 in the Grand Prix to be in it. Yeah, I don't know. And the Grand Prix final is already pretty short, so I have no idea why they would want to make it a little bit longer. Interesting, interesting. All right. The revised Grand Prix schedule would have two. What? The revised Grand Prix schedule would have two regular season events in each of September, October, November, then semifinals in December and the final in January. In Olympic years, the Grand Prix would just have four regular season events, semifinals in November, and the final in December. I don't understand this whole semifinal thing. How are you doing a semifinal of the Grand Prix final when there's only 6 to 8 skaters in the Grand Prix final? Like semifinals, like what would that do? What would that mean? Why? Why? I could see honestly, I could see Grand Prix being more spread out so that there's not one every single week from late October to November. If you had two in September, two in October, two in November, I could see that because most skaters, have their programs ready by August already, right? They're working on it over the summer. I could see that. I agree with that maybe it's better to spread out so that you don't have skaters going from one Grand Prix to the next in the span of 2 weeks. I could see that. I don't like this semifinal thing. That doesn't make sense to me because why are you gonna do a semifinal if the final is already 6 skaters? Like that's already like a small amount of skaters. Like would 6 skaters skate in the semifinal and then only like three in the final? Like that would not be a competition, right? That would not be a really big competition. And then changing it in Olympic years to be 4 season events with semifinals in November and the final in December is a really weird change to me too because I don't really feel like the season should change just because it's an Olympic year. I feel like this season should stay the same, and the Olympics are an extra competition that's an extra challenge. That is really not it. Okay, that's another point that Philip Hersh makes. That would likely force date changes in national championships held in late December and January. So they would move to like what? February, like late January, February for national events, and that would be so close to like the Olympics. I feel like that would not be it. That would not be it. All right. What else? What else? Here's some other things. They propose the ISU proposes that national championships be held in mid-February, followed by four continents and European championships in March. In all seasons, the world championships would move from late March into mid-April. I don't really like that. I do like how the current season kind of goes from September to March and it's kind of 7 months. If you moved it for by a couple more weeks and you did this whole Grand Prix thing, I really don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. I know. Skaters would be incentivized by a new point system to compete in more Grand Prix regular event season, perhaps three per skater or couple instead of the current two. No, no, I really don't like that either. Because if you have to I feel like they have to do one or the other. I like the idea of having two events in each month, September, October, November, because that makes sense. But then if you told skaters you have to skate to three events instead of two events now, I feel like that would not be a good idea. Because if you're skating for um three events, that's a lot of traveling, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of energy as well. And if the point of spreading it out across 3 months is to reduce stress and everything like that, then why would you counteract what you're trying to counteract by making skaters skate for three? Oh, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Again, let's see. And then Philip Hersh talks about the whole choose free programs thing is a big no. Making arenas having to have LED lighting on boards is crazy to me because that's not that's that no. Anyway, that was Philip Hersh's first article that we'll discuss. So figure skating officials weigh major changes in rule schedule. I don't like it. So yeah, like he said, some of the changes were to do the fall. No, the fall thingy. No. Um 6 minute warm up is off camera. I don't know about that. Changing the Grand Prix schedule. I agree with some of it. I like doing 3 different months, September, October, November, and not having it like week after week after week. I don't like this whole semi-final in December, final in No, that's weird. I just have the final in December. I feel like that's a good season ending. Yeah, I don't like having to push a whole season back. All right, Globetrotting article number 2 is also by Philip Hersh. Oh my god, this is the same article. Never mind, never mind. Okay. I saw something on Reddit. I think this might have been a rumor. I did see something on Reddit. I don't know where I saw it. It might have been a while ago. I don't know when it was. But the ISU is the International Skating Union. And so they don't just control figure skating, but they also control speed skating and short track speed skating. If you don't know what those are, think athletics like running, like 400 meter, 800 meter, 1600 meter, things like that. Think of those events, but instead of running by foot, you skate on the ice in a big circle. And think about that. And so the ISU controls figure skating, but they also control speed skating and short track speed skating. And one of the things I saw on Reddit, might have been a rumor, again, take this one with a grain of salt, was to combine worlds for figure skating and speed track skating and short track speed skating all into one big cohesive event that would be like 1 week long. It would be like a mini Olympics just for every ice skating event, figure skating, speed skating, short track speed skating. Let's do it all in one. I don't like that idea because I truly don't see the appeal of it because I don't watch speed skating and short track speed skating. I don't know. I would only watch figure skating and I can't imagine the two sports are quite different. Like let's be honest, right? Like the two sports are different. I get that they're both on the ice and they both skating, right? But that's like saying like soccer and football have the same fan base because they are both on grass and they are both running related. It's not the same. Right. It's not the same. Soccer and football is not the same in the sense that figure skating and speed skating and short track speed skating are not the same. Have similar surfaces, similar equipment, whatnot, but they're not the same. They're not the same. And so making one cohesive world skating, world ice skating championships for this would be crazy to me because why would you want to do that? I feel like it would be a really bad marketing choice. People would get confused maybe by the skating. People would rather watch maybe the figure skating events. Figure skating has a larger viewer base, viewership. Um, I feel like it would not be a great idea for anything. I don't know. Like, why would you wanna do that? Why would you wanna do that? You would wanna control it. I don't know, I guess it's more convenient for both sports to come together, and the ISU can have a bigger prominence in both sports and combining them together, but they are different sports in and of themselves, and I do think they need to stay separate. They don't need to stay how they currently are. They do need to stay, quite separate from one another, and I don't think it would go well with, the viewership of either sport if we're just like, yeah, you guys are together now. No, I don't think that's how it should work. Yeah, that's just my opinion, friends. That's just my opinion. All right, something else I saw on Reddit was just from today actually, and this is a another thing related to the scheduling of the season. This was posted by underscore exegy underscore, and this was called preliminary unofficial 2026-2027 Challenger Series schedule per the skating session. So this graphic was made by the Instagram account called the skating session, and it's a list of Challenger Series events saying that the first one would be Cranberry Cup starting on August 5th to 9th, and the rest would be throughout the fall, and then it would end in February from the 18th to the 21st in the Challenge Cup in the Netherlands, which would be interesting. Which would be interesting. What would I say to that? What would I actually say to that? Challenge Cup being I don't know. I have always liked the Challenger series, and there is honestly a lot of competitions, a lot of small competitions in the spring in, January or February where skaters might only compete in Europeans and Worlds and that's it, or skaters might only compete in four continents and Worlds and that's it. Where maybe it would be nice for skaters, maybe as another opportunity to get, season minimums to go to Worlds or just to have more competition experience. I do like the idea of having more Challenger Series events and maybe extending the Challenger Series not only in the fall, but having a couple events in the early spring. I mean, like, in the early spring, like January, February, like, maybe like after Europeans, there's an event, after Fort Continents, there's an event, before, after kind of thing. Maybe if you didn't qualify to Europeans, you would want to go to a smaller event, smaller Challenger Series event. Yeah, I could see that. I really could see that. I like the idea of extending the challenge series because it has, a little more prestige than some of the small competitions that don't have challenger series status. Less than the Grand Prix, but still a really good opportunity for skiers to come out. And, there's usually a few prominent skiers at every challenger series event. So I feel like it would be a good idea to extend the length of the challenge series to what? To include more, events maybe from different places. What's a good example? They have the Bavarian Cup or something in Germany in the January era. I'm sure there's events in Asia all over for the Challenge Series. One of the main complaints of the Challenge Series in general is that there's too many events in Europe, and there's not enough events in other regions of the world, which I definitely do agree with. And so, you would want more Challenge Series events so that people can travel more, so that, skaters that are training in a certain location have more access to them. The only one in Asia currently is the brand new one, the Kinoshita Group Cup in Tokyo, for example, as the graphic shows here. And the rest of them are in Europe, except two of them, both in the US. I guess Kazakhstan as well is in like Central Asia as well. I believe that's it. And then two in the US. And so there's no Challenge Series events that really are in, anywhere near Asia except Tokyo. But it would be helpful to have one. For example, in Thailand, for example, that's a region that has had a couple junior Grand Prix, maybe one in Australia, for example, for skaters in that region of the world, maybe one in Latin America, in Africa, wherever an ice rink is, maybe at least trying to expand the global base of figure skating by having a couple Challenger Series events in those regions, especially again in maybe in like times of the year where there is not a lot of skating going on. That period again between European four continents and worlds usually doesn't have a ton of skating going on. So maybe that's a good time. I don't know. I like the idea of having more challenge series events and extending the schedule out. But yeah, good posts from the skating session posted on Reddit by underscore exig underscore. But those are all like the suggestions that I've seen from the ISU. Again, some of them might be rumors. I don't know. What the ISU needs to do, that rhymes. What the ISU needs to do. In my opinion, what the ISU needs to do is really listen to their most loyal fans, some of us, right? Who maybe will answer some surveys to see what the I to for the ISU to see what we want. Answer some questions, show them that we want to do whatever for the ISU to succeed, for our beautiful sport to succeed. Listen to skaters and listen to coaches. I know there's been a couple skaters already that has spoken out about this. At Worlds, I believe it was Ilya Malinen, Yuma Kageyama, and Shun Sato, I believe, or was it? I believe Shun Sato was the one to speak out about this that they did an interview of. They did not an interview. It was during the press conference about what they thought about the ISU rule changes, and all three of them, I believe, really did not like the idea of the rule changes and wanted the ISU to listen to them more. And when you have big stars like that of the sport, right? These are stars that won Olympic medals and have done really big things for the sport, saying that the ICU is not really listening to them, really hearing their opinions. I truly do think that is a big problem. Coaches as well are a big thing, right? Coaches are a big thing as well. Many of them have been in the sport themselves, have skated themselves, have been in the sport, surrounded by the sport for a long time. The ICU needs to listen to them as well. The ICU just needs to not make decisions that are, not maybe well developed, that are a little poorly thought out, should not sacrifice the sport for the sake of money. And I understand that money is super important for the ISU. It's a struggling sport. It's a struggling organization that would love some more money to help fund figure skating and everything. But some of these changes, like saving time to be more appealing to broadcasters, cutting out jumps in programs, things like that, without listening to skaters, is not necessarily what I would, hope the ISU would do. And so the best course of action, for anybody here in this situation, right? Um for ISU in this situation would be to listen to their fans, listen to the skiers and coaches, and of course, listen to their own internal advisors and business experts and things like that, and help everyone make a cohesive agreement together, or at least, a majority agrees, or a 60-40 split, or something where everyone kind of agrees, something where everyone is like, oh, that's a terrible decision, haha, that's not that. Something where everyone's like, okay, we could see this. Maybe some of us are uncomfortable with this. Let's see how it goes. And we can change and regroup if this doesn't really work out. But, if the next 4 years are, where there's only 3 minutes, 30 seconds in each program or in the free skate, there's one less jump in the free skate, where worlds are in April now, where the Grand Prix final has semifinals suddenly. Like, if the next 4 years are like that and people don't like it, I could see these like decisions that are supposed to save the ISU. I could really see them kind of backfiring and kind of driving people away from the sport because it's so different from what they used to watch. And so I don't know, just one random teenager's hot takes. Maybe that this is the death of figure skating. Maybe it is the end of our sport. I hope it is not. I hope that you hope it is not either. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to this episode of a Teen Talk Skating podcast. My name is Van Gogh. I hope you enjoyed me reacting and listening to the new ISU proposals that might just change figure skating forever. I will see you next week for an episode about something. Who knows? Whatever I want. I will see you then, and bye bye.